Happy New Year. And today I'm going to be recapping 2022, especially as we enter into 2023. And isn't it fun that my podcast always comes out on a Sunday? And it is January 1st. So let's get on to the show. You're listening to Be in Demand, the podcast for honest advice, inspiring stories, and ideas for growing your business by leveraging the expert that you are. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, business mentor. And I'm also a reformed painfully shy girl, red wine lover, and exercise enthusiast. Join me as I share how being positioned as the expert in your industry, even if it's a busy one, will help you stand out and be the one in demand to hire and work with. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. And I just love beginnings, and I hope that you do too. But part of a new beginning is also reflecting on the past, being able to look back, see what was good, what was bad, what would I do differently, what do I wish had gone differently, what was I so excited and pleased about, what am I celebrating. So there's a lot of things that go into recapping, but I think it's an important thing to do each and every year or even quarterly. And I actually know some people, some friends who actually do this monthly. So I believe that the more often you do this, the more on track you are going to be. So I'm just going to do a year in review. And when I look back on this, one of the coaches that I had last year, she did ask me well, okay, so what's one of your goals? And one of the goals that I shared with her was to be a guest on 30 podcasts. And at first, in January, you start thinking 30, okay, that's like 2.5 a month. That's not much. That sounds very doable. Well, guess what happened? I probably had been on 5, maybe only 4 by March, and then I completely forgot about the goal. So let me share with you why I'm being so honest about this particular goal. It's really easy to forget about things. So that's why I included this as the first thing that I wanted to talk about in my recap for 2022, because I completely forgot about it. As a matter of fact, I forgot about it for about 6 months. And it was only in September when I had this prompt about September 1st that there were 88 more working days, thinking Monday through Friday, minus some of the holidays that are in the fall. 88 more working days till the end of the year. How are your goals? And that's when I remembered this podcast guesting goal. I am happy to report that I did do the 30, but I put it out there that here's a goal of mine. I'm reigniting this goal, and people really do want to help you. That was one of the beautiful things that I learned by forgetting about this goal and then bringing it out and sharing this goal very publicly on LinkedIn, on Facebook, in conversations with people. And I hit that goal because people actually reached out to me and said, you can be on my podcast. People want to help you reach your goal. And I loved that. People introduced me to other people. So I got my 30 podcasts. As a matter of fact, they have not all aired, but I did record 30 podcasts. So in hindsight, this is what I learned about this particular goal. In hindsight, this is something that I should have kept better track of, and it should have been front and center. So I may be using this as this particular goal, but I want you to think about what is a goal that you had last year that you didn't reach, you didn't achieve. When you think about it, did you have your eye on that goal? Were you keeping track of it? Because the things that we keep track of, we manage. So you think about weight loss. You get on the scale so that you can see whether you get on the scale weekly, you get on the scale daily, you get on the scale monthly. The longer it is that you are managing or reviewing things, the more out of touch you can become with it. So if you weigh yourself weekly, at least weekly, you've got 4 check-ins a month versus just 1 check-in a month, or 1 check-in every time you go for an annual physical. I actually do like to get on the scale daily, truth be told. And that's what I should be doing with goals, especially certain goals, is to really have that appointment on my calendar. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing, is what are some of the goals that you need to have an appointment with yourself just to review? Not to beat yourself up, but just to like, hey, where did I slip? Where did I do well? What's working well with achieving this particular goal? And how can I use that moving forward, like into the next quarter or next month? So if you want to hear some of these podcasts, you can just go over to either Listen Notes, which is one of my favorite podcast searching, and you can just type in my name. Or if you just type in my name into Google and podcasts, then every episode that is already airing, that particular podcast should show up, depending on the SEO of that particular podcast host. So another great thing, and this was not a goal of mine at all, I was a guest on somebody's show called the Contagious Leadership. It was the lunch talk back in July. And Rigo was the gentleman that I was doing the show with. It was his show at the time. A little bit more on that. And it airs on LinkedIn and a whole bunch of other places. And it was an experience. And when I say it was an experience, this is exactly how I got into speaking. I spoke up without thinking. The very first time that I spoke, I just said, yeah, I'll do it. Not thinking about what does this really mean? How are people going to judge me? What am I going to talk about? Like all those questions that my clients ask me or prevent them from actually speaking, I never even thought about. So we're in the green room before this particular show, and Rigo is super honest with me and says, I lost my co-host. She's burnt out, so she's going to be gone for a couple of months. Out of my mouth, I say, if this goes well, maybe I'll be your co-host. And I am literally now nicknamed the guest that never left. I am not his co-host. He actually considers both of us to be co-hosts. It's our show. And I've been able to bring on a lot of speaking friends of mine, people that have wonderful, wonderful messages to share with the world. And it is a great dynamic show. It's more of a conversation around a kitchen table versus at a coffee shop. And if you've ever watched the show, I hope that you do. Come on. It's on Thursdays afternoons. It's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would love to have some of my podcast listeners over there. And if you watch the show and you decide, hey, I would like to be a guest on this show because it is a lot of fun. Every single guest that I've ever brought on this show has said it has been a lot of fun. Please reach out to me. Send me a DM, send me an email. Information's down below or even on any of my social. Send me a DM and I will share with you the process that we've established to getting on the show. So the benefits of being on this show, it's a weekly form of visibility. And it has definitely elevated my speaking skills. Because this is live, on the spot, asking questions, answering questions, being able to read my other two, my co-host Rigo, but also our guest, being able to read their body language to know if something is going on, like sometimes like a pet walks in the room, lights start to flicker, an ambulance drives by, so to be able to read people's body language to kick in and maybe start talking and take up a little bit more space so that it gives my guest or my co-host a little space to take care of what needs to be taken care of. So those are some things that I've learned. And also my LinkedIn analytics have skyrocketed. LinkedIn loves video. As a matter of fact, every social platform loves video. And as a result of this past year and being on Rigo's show, The Contagious Leadership, my love for LinkedIn has grown deep. I really love the platform. I love the quality of people I'm seeing over there. I love the quality of content that I'm able to learn and the people that I'm able to share with as well. So one of the things that I love about LinkedIn is LinkedIn, unlike Facebook or Instagram, knows that you have a job, knows that you have a career, does not expect you to be on their platform all day, every day. Loves that you stop in, connect with people, make a few comments, share a news article, go to work. Go work with your clients, go work with your customers, go sell, and then maybe come back. So that's part of the reason why I'm really falling in love with LinkedIn. So if you haven't checked out LinkedIn, please connect with me over there. You can either follow me, connect with me. If you do send me a connection, please let me know how we know each other. In-demand signature speech. This is where my human design manifesting generator came in. I have a tendency to think, oh, this sounds like a great idea. Let me run with it. And that's exactly how in-demand signature speech started this year. It sounded like a good idea. I just want to try this. Let me see if I can teach my unique process in a group setting. The whole point was that by the end of 8 weeks, everybody who had attended would have a signature speech ready to go, ready to use. And so I ran it for the very first time, and I had an absolute blast. So that's how I knew that this was meant to run again. The feedback that I got from the first round of attendees was fabulous, and I ran it a second time and a third time last year. I won't run it 3 times next year for a variety of reasons. But if this is something that you want to do, if you want to have a signature speech finished, learn how to take that 60 or 75-minute speech and break it down into 20 or 30 minutes, then definitely get on the wait list for in-demand signature speech. And that is speakandstandout.com/SS. And that link should be down below as well. Some fun things happened. I traveled again. I traveled overseas. This time I went to Europe twice. I went to Austria for about a week, and that required me flying to Germany. My husband was already there, so I was flying alone. Flew to Germany and then had to navigate the train system so that I showed up in Austria. And that train ride is about 2.5, 3 hours. My other trip that I took that I really enjoyed, and this was a total vacation for me and my husband. We spent 12 days in Paris. Sorry about that, Christine. He was at a trade show for plastics in Germany, and it's a very large event that is held every 3 years. And the most romantic thing he's ever said to me was, "Why don't you meet me in Paris afterwards?" And so we did. We had a lovely vacation. Client wins. I mean, no recap of the past year would be complete without talking about some of the wins that my clients have had. Some of them spoke for the very first time. Some of them raised their hand to saying, you know what, not sure I'm ready for this, but I'm going to do the work anyways. And raised their hand and just overcame their fear of speaking. Because sometimes this world of speaking, as I've been talking to my clients, they can feel like it's the secret world, like there's a secret to getting on stages. And sometimes that can be very intimidating because we don't know it. I'll just procrastinate. I'm not going to inquire about it. So I'll keep going over here on social media and writing more content, writing more posts, and hoping that, the right people will read it and, inquire and then sign up. Signature stories, crafting signature speeches with some amazing clients with amazing stories to tell. And one client that I worked with is a medical doctor. And if you've ever been in healthcare, if you are in healthcare and you've attended any medical conferences, you know that medical conferences can be very boring. And one of the compliments that she got, and she'll be on the show sometime this year, one of the compliments that she got was, I normally fall asleep during these meetings. I did not fall asleep during yours. She was very entertaining, so unlike any of the medical conferences that I ever had to attend. I also had clients who applied for CMEs, meaning their talk qualified for continuing medical education requirements. And that goes a long way. It's not just for that one talk. It can be used again and again and again. Something that I've done for both the healthcare world and also human resources. Money. 2022 was a much better financial year than 2021 or even 2020. As a matter of fact, 2020 was an okay year. We all remember what happened. 2021 was a little bit better. 2022 was much better. So financially, I'm very pleased, and it's because I'm attracting the right clients and the right people into my group programs, and did a number of intensives, helped several people write TED Talks. So if that's something that you are thinking of doing, reach out to me. And because I do have a 3-hour intensive that I work with people. Another thing behind the scenes that I did was I moved my website. My website, as of this date, is still on WordPress, kind of struggling along, but I'm moving it over to something that I called Sales Edge, and it is an all-in-one platform, from email to web hosting to all of my courses and membership to landing pages and funnels. I mean, it's the system that I have or wish that I had when I first started out, but this didn't exist. Instead, all these years, I've been using a program from here, a program from there, something here, something there. And now I have everything on one platform, which is super fun. And the more that I get to know it, the more that I fall in love with it. And if you want to know more about that, just feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about my experience of moving. But the other thing about moving from one platform to another, because I'm a manifesting generator and I like things instantaneously, I knew that I could get overwhelmed by this, by wanting the system to be moved over as quickly as possible. So what I did was I gave myself a time frame to move things over slowly. That way I could speak with my team, and then we could move things over. I could have things set up nice and neat. And I'm happy to say that because I did that, it's because I knew myself. I have the right people that are behind me, that are supporting me, building the site and building all the assets behind the scenes. So it took time, but I'm very happy that I invested that time. Otherwise, I would have got overwhelmed with making decisions all at once and walked away. And I'm also happy to say that I've been helping my husband with his consulting business. And the way that I'm helping him with his business is using what I've learned growing my business, especially when it comes to automation. If there's something that you have to do more than once, it needs to be an automation. And so that's part of what I'm trying to build into his business, his consulting business. So those are some of the things that, when I look back on this year, having worked with some amazing people, having been a part of some amazing people's lives, like clients, the people that are working with me one-on-one, but also in a group program, having some fun, and realizing I love having my business planned ahead. I would not have been able to relax on vacation if I was constantly putting out fires, constantly creating content that very same day or that very week that was to go out. I love being far enough ahead. And that is, in speaking with my team, that is something that we are going to actually be working a little bit harder on, because I would like to have more content, more plans, more podcast episodes, that just doing more batching, so that even my team, because I batch record or batch writing content, that they're going to be able to batch scheduling, batch the graphic designs, batch editing the podcast, and everything that goes along with that. So those are part of what I wanted to share with you in this recap of 2022. So Happy New Year. May this year be all that you want it to be. And I would love to hear a little bit more about what you want to be celebrating at the end of this year. So please feel free to reach out to me. And if you would, I want to grow this podcast. And one of the ways that I can grow this podcast is by having the different podcast apps and platforms actually share this podcast with others. And you can help me do that. There's two ways you can do that. One is by sharing this podcast with your friends and family and on social media. And also leaving a review. 5 stars, please, if you feel that I deserve it. But the 5 stars really helps and lets like Apple and Spotify and all the others know that people are getting great value from this. So those are the ways that you can help me grow this podcast. And if there's anything that I can do for you in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to me. Follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn. And remember, Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when you will see the Contagious Leadership. And come and join me over there and learn from some fabulous guests. And Rigo and I do a lot of in-depth trainings. So till next week, be in demand. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And join me over in my private Facebook group for more tips, community, and free trainings. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also help this podcast reach more listeners by leaving a review. And as a thank you, each month I pick one of my reviewers to win a free coaching call with me. So if you haven't done so already, please leave a review and you could be the next winner.